Nous allons maintenant recevoir un deuxième intervenant en la personne de M. David Fletcher. Good afternoon, Mr.
Good
Fletcher.
afternoon, Mr. President.
Mr. Fletcher would like to ask a question to the Mayor.
Yes, please. I'd like to say good evening to all the members of the Council, and Mr. Mayor, I'd like to pose a question. In June of this year, the recommendations of the Commission des Grands Équipements were tabled for approval in this Council following hearings on the natural spaces bilan. These hearings were well attended with briefs from many groups and individuals, and the recommendations of the Commission were very positive, reflecting that public input. And at August meeting of this Council, I asked you why the vote for approval was not on the agenda and whether that vote would be expected to take place before the election November 1st. As I recall, the response was somewhat indefinite and left Green Coalition and the public wondering as to whether or not there ever would be such a vote. My question is, can we expect that the vote on the recommendations will be on the agenda for this evening or at a Council meeting sometime soon? And if not, what can we expect to become of those recommendations?
Monsieur de Souza.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Fletcher, for the question. We don't adopt the recommendations. The report of the Commission is presented to the Council for consideration. At that point in time, each of those recommendations are analysed, and where we are able to advance on certain of those recommendations, we will be able to say, yes, we can go forth on that. If there are others that are, for whatever reason, not possible to advance on, then we'd also be able to say why we can't advance on that. But it's not like we would be adopting or voting on those recommendations en bloc. We have received it. It's been deposited here. We intend to follow through to analyze each of the recommendations and make a determination how we should move. But we don't, in the many years that I've sat on this Council, a report of the Commission is deposited here as a report. It's a valid report. It's an exercise in public consultation, and it serves to guide us as to what people think on particular issues. After that, I think the objective is to see which of those are feasible, and if so, how, or which are not feasible, and why not.
Okay. So I'm just wondering now,
Mr. Fletcher, second question.
Second question. Thank you, Mr. Dauphin. I apologize for being out of order there. For my second question, I'd like to ask what will become of the natural spaces policy in the next mandate, including certain key recommendations of the Commission. I'm thinking specifically of the Meadowbrook issue and the need to conserve that in the Tram Verte Sud-Ouest. And, can we expect that there will be some expedition, if you like, some haste put towards accomplishing these objectives?
Mr. de Souza.
Yeah, Mr. President, thank you. With regard to the National Spaces Policy, I think we're going to take the time to assess it. It's been 5 years that it's been in place. We came in with certain objectives. The objectives were to see if we can reach 6% in terms of land protection, 2% with regard to wetland or water, so to speak. And in that regard, I guess at our best estimate, we were around 5%, so we were close, but not quite there. The monies that were dedicated to that were to the tune of about 36 million initially, but at the last hearing I heard that it had climbed up to 41 million. So in that sense, the administration and the agglomeration has definitely put its money where its mouth is in terms of being able to protect the maximum and the strategic pieces which are important. You must remember Woods number 3, the efforts made on Cheval Blanc, the efforts made with regard to Ruisseau du Montigny, L'Anse-à-Lorme, and those are all ones that are still priorities. But I think it's probably wise at the beginning of a mandate where this Council sits to take a step back and take a look and see how does it work, because any additional steps that will cost us more. We've over the 5 years we've gone after things that were strategic, but we recognize that if we were to go further, it might cost us. What are we still using? Is the natural spaces policy as currently constituted the best way to do it? Is it the most effective way to do it? I do want to take the step back in 2010 to at least make that assessment and see how we continue. That doesn't diminish in any way, shape, or form our commitment as a council to protecting natural spaces, and some of the decisions either taken as early as this week demonstrate that we're continuing, particularly in the case of Bois du Saraguet, that we will be making recommendations to the council.
Thank you very much, Mr. D'Souza and Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Dauphin.
Mr. Fletcher.
Good evening.